Listen to me. Before the year changes, before the clock resets, before another promise gets delayed, hear this clearly. Nobody is coming to choose you. That's your job. And 2026 will either reward your courage or expose your hesitation. This is not a speech about motivation. This is a decision, and decisions change lives. Listen closely, because this may be the most important truth you hear this year. Waiting has never changed a life. Waiting has never opened a door. Waiting has never built confidence, wealth, peace, or purpose. Waiting only perfects regret. And yet so many people are standing still, frozen in hesitation, hoping for a signal, a sign, a green light from the world. Let me be clear with you, the world does not give permission slips for greatness. If you are waiting to be chosen, you are silently choosing to stay exactly where you are. Growth begins the moment you stop asking for approval and start taking responsibility for your future. From the time we're young, we are conditioned to wait. Wait your turn. Wait to be called on. Wait until someone notices you. Wait until you're qualified enough, confident enough, ready enough. And that mindset follows people straight into adulthood. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect circumstances. But perfection is a lie that fear tells to stay in control. Life rewards movement, not readiness. The truth is, nobody ever feels fully ready. The people who win are simply the ones who move anyway. They step forward with trembling hands and steady resolve. They don't wait for confidence, they build it through action. You have to understand this. Every time you ask for permission, you hand your power away. You make someone else the gatekeeper of your destiny. You let external opinions decide internal worth. And the world will happily accept that role because it benefits from your hesitation. But your dreams were not meant to be managed by committee. They were placed in you because you are responsible for bringing them to life. If you keep waiting for someone to say yes, you may never realize that the only voice that truly mattered was yours all along. There is a dangerous comfort in waiting. It feels safe. It feels responsible. It feels like patience. But often it's just fear wearing a suit. Fear of being judged, fear of failing publicly, fear of discovering that success requires more from you than you're willing to give. Waiting allows you to avoid those confrontations. It keeps you protected from embarrassment, but it also keeps you protected from fulfillment. And the cost of that protection is your potential. You cannot play small and expect a big life. At some point, you must decide that the discomfort of growth is cheaper than the pain of regret. Here's the part most people won't tell you. No one is coming to save you. Not your boss, not your family, not your friends, not the system. Everyone is busy fighting their own battles. And once you accept that, something powerful happens. You stop feeling abandoned and start feeling free. Because if no one is coming, then you don't have to wait. You don't have to explain. You don't have to justify your ambition. You are free to act, free to fail, free to learn, free to rise. Responsibility is not a burden. It is liberation. Choosing yourself means you stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start asking, what will it cost me if I never try? It means recognizing that rejection is not a verdict, it's a direction. That failure is not an identity, it's information. You stop personalizing setbacks and start analyzing them. You realize that every person you admire once stood where you are now, uncertain, unseen, unapproved. The difference is not talent, it's not luck, it's not connections, it's decision. They decided to move before the fear disappeared. Let me challenge you right now. How many dreams have you postponed because you were waiting to feel confident? Confidence does not precede action. Action precedes confidence. The first step is always shaky. The first attempt is always imperfect. The first version is always messy, but it is necessary. Waiting for confidence is like waiting for muscles before going to the gym. The strength comes from the effort. You earn belief by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you act despite fear, you tell your mind, I can be trusted. And that trust compounds. When you stop waiting for permission, you stop outsourcing your identity. You no longer need constant validation to feel worthy. You don't need everyone to understand your vision. You understand it. That's enough. You begin to operate from self-respect instead of self-doubt. And that shift changes how you walk, how you speak, how you decide. Opportunities start responding to your energy. People sense certainty even when results are still forming. Momentum recognizes courage. The world responds differently to someone who has already chosen themselves. And make no mistake, choosing yourself will make some people uncomfortable. Not because you're wrong, but because your courage confronts their hesitation. Your movement highlights their stagnation. Your growth reminds them of what they postponed. Some will question you. Some will doubt you. Some will hope you fail so they don't have to question their own choices. Let them. You are not here to manage other people's comfort. You are here to live in alignment with your potential. Approval fades. Regret lingers. There will be moments when you wish someone would step in and reassure you. Moments when the silence feels loud. Moments when the results are slow and the doubts are fast. In those moments, remember this: every leader learns to self-soothe. Every visionary learns to self-validate. Every high achiever learns to self-motivate. That inner strength is not given, it's built. And it's built by showing up when no one is watching, by continuing when encouragement is absent, by trusting yourself enough to keep going. Choosing yourself also means redefining failure. Failure is not proof that you shouldn't have started. It's proof that you did. It's evidence of courage. The only true failure is never stepping forward. Years from now, you will not regret the attempts that didn't work. You will regret the chances you never took, the conversations you avoided, the risks you talked yourself out of. Life punishes hesitation far more harshly than it punishes mistakes. So hear this clearly: you don't need to be more ready. You don't need to be more qualified. You don't need to be more confident. You need to be more decisive. Make the call, take the step, send the message, start the work. Begin before you feel prepared. The version of you that succeeds is built by the version of you that acts today. And if you take nothing else with you, take this truth and carry it into 2026 with fire in your chest. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself, fully, boldly, and without apology. Because the moment you do, everything changes. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear, but desperately need to understand. Confidence is not something you're born with, and it's not something you magically feel one day. Confidence is built, brick by brick, rep by rep. Promise by promise kept when quitting would be easier. Real confidence doesn't come from hype, praise, or temporary wins. It comes from discipline, from doing what you said you would do long after the excitement is gone. That's the kind of confidence nobody can take from you, because it's earned, not borrowed. We live in a world that celebrates loud confidence. Social media confidence. Talk it but don't live it confidence. but that kind fades the moment resistance shows up. Discipline-based confidence is different. It doesn't need to announce itself. It walks into the room already grounded. It doesn't rush. It doesn't panic. It knows what it's capable of because it has proof. And that proof wasn't built in moments of inspiration. It was built in moments of inconvenience. Early mornings, late nights, quiet sacrifices no one applauded. Every time you follow through when it's uncomfortable, you send a message to your nervous system, I can trust myself. And trust is the foundation of confidence. If you constantly break promises to yourself, skip the work, delay the effort, negotiate with your goals, you teach your mind that your word doesn't matter. That's why so many people struggle with self-belief. Not because they lack ability, but because they've trained themselves not to listen to their own commitments. Discipline repairs that relationship. It rebuilds self-respect. And self-respect is the backbone of confidence. Discipline is choosing structure over chaos. It's deciding in advance who you're going to be, so you don't leave your future up to your mood. Motivation is unreliable. Feelings fluctuate. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. It cares about what you decided. And that's power. When you no longer depend on motivation to act, you become unstoppable. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need perfect conditions. You move because you said you would. That level of internal authority changes how you show up in every area of life. Understand this. Your habits are always speaking for you. Long before you open your mouth, your daily routines have already introduced you. They tell the story of what you tolerate, what you prioritize, and how seriously you take your future. You can't lie to your habits. They are honest. If your habits are inconsistent, your results will be inconsistent. If your habits are weak, your confidence will be fragile. But when your habits are solid, when you do the work daily, even imperfectly, you walk differently, you speak differently, you decide differently, because you know you're putting in the work. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect in action. It's saying, my future is important enough to require effort. It's choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. Most people choose comfort and then wonder why they feel unfulfilled. Comfort numbs potential. Discipline sharpens it. Discipline creates momentum. And momentum creates belief. Once you start stacking discipline days, something shifts. You don't need external validation as much. You don't need reassurance as often. You start to trust the process because you're part of it. And let's be honest, discipline is hard, it's boring sometimes, it's repetitive. It doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment. But neither does regret. The difference is discipline hurts now and pays later, while regret feels easy now and costs you later. Every time you choose discipline, you are voting for the person you want to become. Every skipped workout, every avoided task, every excuse is also a vote. Just not for the future you say you want. The math is simple. The hard part is being honest with yourself. There will be days when no one notices your effort. Days when progress feels invisible. Days when it seems like you're doing everything right and nothing is changing. Those are the days discipline matters most. Because discipline teaches you how to continue without applause. And life will not always clap for you. Success demands endurance. It demands the ability to keep showing up when the results lag behind the effort. Discipline builds that endurance. It builds patience. It builds emotional control. It trains you to stay focused even when the reward is delayed. When discipline becomes your identity, confidence becomes inevitable. Not loud confidence, not arrogant confidence, but calm, grounded, unshakable confidence. The kind that doesn't compare itself to others, the kind that doesn't rush the timeline, the kind that knows growth is happening even when it's quiet. You stop needing to prove yourself because you're too busy improving yourself. That's real power. That's inner authority. And it comes from consistent, disciplined action over time. Choosing discipline also means choosing standards. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop lowering the bar on hard days. You understand that how you do small things is how you do everything. You treat your commitments with respect. You show up on time. You prepare. You finish what you start. These aren't small traits. They are signals to the world and to yourself that you are serious. And serious people attract serious opportunities. Discipline makes you reliable. Reliability builds trust. Trust opens doors. As 2026 approaches, ask yourself this. What version of confidence do you want? The kind that depends on external validation, or the kind that stands firm even when no one agrees with you yet? Because only one of those survives pressure. Only one of those scales. Only one of those lasts. Discipline is the quiet force that turns intention into identity. It's not flashy, but it's formidable. It doesn't beg for attention, but it commands respect. So commit to the daily work. Commit to the boring repetitions. Commit to the unglamorous routines. Commit to doing what needs to be done even when it's inconvenient. Because every disciplined day is building a future version of you that doesn't doubt their worth, their ability, or their direction. And remember this, carry it with you. Discipline is not just what you do, it's who you become. And when discipline leads, confidence follows. There comes a moment in every person's life when staying the same starts to hurt more than changing. It's subtle at first, a quiet frustration, a sense that you're outgrowing the conversations, the routines, the expectations placed on you. You still show up, you still smile, but something inside you knows you're no longer meant to live at this level. And that awareness is not betrayal. It's evolution. Growth is not a rejection of your past. It's an acknowledgement of your future. When you begin to rise, the room you're in will start to feel smaller. That discomfort is not a sign to stop. It's a signal to move. Most people mistake loyalty for self-sacrifice. They stay in environments that no longer nourish them because they're afraid of being seen as ungrateful, arrogant, or disloyal. They water themselves down to fit spaces they've already outgrown. But loyalty that costs you your potential is not loyalty. It's fear dressed up as virtue. You were not born to remain relatable to everyone. You were born to become who you are capable of being. And that will require distance from people and places that were only meant to hold an earlier version of you. Outgrowing a room doesn't always mean walking away physically. Sometimes it means shifting mentally. It means refusing to engage in small talk that drains you. It means no longer laughing at jokes that diminish your ambition. It means raising your standards when no one else is ready to meet them. When you change your inner posture, the room notices. Some will feel inspired, others will feel threatened. That reaction has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of their relationship with growth. Your job is not to shrink to keep the peace. Your job is to stay aligned with your truth. Here's the reality, the room that celebrated your beginnings may not applaud your becoming. People are comfortable with the version of you they can predict, control, or compare themselves to. But growth disrupts dynamics. It forces others to confront their own stagnation. And instead of rising, many choose resentment. They'll question your motives. They'll label your ambition as ego. They'll say you've changed, as if that's an insult. But change is the goal. If you remain the same year after year, that's not loyalty. That's neglect of your potential. Choosing to outgrow a room requires courage because it often comes with loneliness. Familiar faces fade, invitations slow down, conversations feel surface level, and in those quiet moments, doubt can creep in. You may wonder if you made the wrong choice. But loneliness is often the corridor between who you were and who you're becoming. It's temporary. What's permanent is the cost of staying where you don't belong. Comfort can be deceptive. It soothes you while quietly stealing your future. Growth, on the other hand, demands discomfort, but it pays in fulfillment. When you respect your evolution, you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop shrinking your dreams to make others feel secure. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You begin to seek environments that challenge you, stretch you and call you higher. Rooms where your ambition is normal, not threatening. Rooms where growth is expected, not questioned. And once you experience that alignment, you realize how much energy you wasted trying to fit where you never belonged. Outgrowing the room also means outgrowing old identities. The version of you that played small, the version that avoided conflict, the version that chose comfort over courage. Letting go of that identity can feel like loss, but it's actually release. You are not abandoning who you were. You're honoring who you are becoming. Every level of life requires a different version of you, and if you try to bring your old self into your new future, it will slow you down. Some people will only know you as the version that made them comfortable. Let them. You don't need to correct their perception. You don't need to convince them of your growth. Your life will speak for you. Rezu. LTs have a way of clarifying intentions. Focus on becoming so aligned with your purpose that opinions lose their grip. When you're rooted in your why, criticism becomes background noise. You stop living for approval and start living with intention. There is power in choosing yourself even when it costs you familiarity. Power in walking away from spaces that no longer challenge you. Power in saying no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's meaningful. This is not about superiority, it's about responsibility. You owe it to yourself to evolve. You owe it to your future to protect your growth. And you owe it to the world to show up as the fullest version of who you can be. As you step into 2026, understand this. Staying in the wrong room will eventually dim your light. You cannot thrive in environments that require you to shrink. Growth demands space, it demands elevation, it demands new conversations, new standards, new energy, and the moment you choose that, everything begins to shift. So don't apologize for outgrowing what no longer fits. Don't explain your evolution to those committed to comfort. And don't let fear disguise itself as loyalty. Respect your growth, honor your evolution, and never stay in a room that asks you to abandon who you're becoming. Pain has a way of introducing itself without warning. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't care about your plans. It interrupts, disrupts, and leaves marks that don't always fade. And most people spend their lives trying to escape it, numb it, or bury it. But here's the truth that changes everything. Pain is not here to destroy you. It's here to refine you. The problem isn't pain. The problem is when pain has no direction. When it's not processed, it becomes bitterness. When it's not understood, it becomes paralysis. But when it's used with intention, pain becomes precision. Every setback you've experienced carried information. Every disappointment was a lesson wrapped in discomfort. But lessons only matter if you extract them. Too many people relive their pain instead of learning from it. They replay the betrayal, the failure, the loss over and over again, hoping it will eventually hurt less. It doesn't. It just hardens them in the wrong ways. Growth doesn't come from remembering pain. It comes from interpreting it, asking, what did this teach me? What did this reveal about me, about others, about what I will no longer tolerate? There is a dangerous comfort in victimhood. It gives you a story. It gives you sympathy. It gives you a reason to stop pushing. But it also steals your power. The moment you define yourself by what hurt you, you hand control to the past. Choosing yourself means you refuse to live there. You acknowledge what happened without allowing it to become who you are. You stop bleeding on people who didn't cut you. You stop letting yesterday's wounds dictate today's decisions. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means refusing to let the pain drive. Pain sharpens when you take responsibility for it. Not blame, responsibility. Blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility gives you options. Responsibility says, this happened, and now I decide what it produces. That shift is where strength is born. You stop asking why it happened and start asking how it changed you. You stop looking for justice and start building wisdom. And wisdom moves differently. It's calmer, more intentional, more selective. Pain, when refined, teaches you boundaries, discernment, and focus. It teaches you where to invest your energy and where to withdraw it completely. Some of the strongest people you admire were forged in moments they never wanted to survive. They didn't become powerful because life was kind to them. They became powerful because they learned how to extract value from adversity. They turned heartbreak into clarity, failure into strategy, rejection into redirection. That didn't happen overnight. It happened through reflection, honesty, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths about themselves. Pain demands maturity. It asks you to grow up emotionally, mentally, spiritually. If you avoid it, it lingers. If you confront it, it transforms. Turning pain into precision also means you stop being reckless with your energy. Pain teaches you that everything has a cost. Every relationship, every commitment, every yes. You become intentional. You move slower but with purpose. You listen more. You observe patterns. You don't rush into spaces that feel familiar but unsafe. You choose alignment over attachment. Pain gives you vision, the ability to see clearly what matters and what doesn't. And once you see clearly, you stop wasting time trying to save what's already broken. There will be moments when your pain resurfaces unexpectedly. A memory, a voice, a place. Healing is not linear, but each time you meet it with awareness instead of avoidance, it loses its grip. You remind yourself that you survived it once, and this time you're stronger. Pain no longer defines you, it informs you. It becomes a reference point, not a residence. And that distinction is everything. You don't live in your wounds, you learn from them. Precision means focus. It means channeling your emotions into action instead of reaction. Instead of lashing out, you level up. Instead of shutting down, you build structure. Instead of collapsing, you commit. Pain can either make you chaotic or composed. The difference is intention. When you choose to use pain, it becomes fuel. Not reckless fuel, controlled fire. The kind that forges steel. The kind that strengthens resolve. The kind that creates leaders who move with empathy but stand with authority. Choosing yourself means you stop asking life to be fair and start asking yourself to be effective. Fairness is unpredictable. Effectiveness is intentional. You don't need to understand everything that happened to move forward. You need to decide what you will do with what happened. That decision is power. That decision is growth. That decision is freedom. As 2026 approaches, don't carry pain like a burden. Carry it like a tool. Let it inform your standards. Let it sharpen your instincts. Let it strengthen your boundaries. Let it humble you without weakening you. The goal was never to be untouched. The goal was to be transformed. So don't waste what tried to break you. Don't romanticize the struggle, but don't run from it either. Use it, shape it, direct it. Turn your pain into purpose. Turn your wounds into wisdom. And let what hurt you become the reason you rise with clarity, strength, and precision. You are always listening to yourself. Whether you realize it or not, there is a voice running in the background of your life, narrating your choices, interpreting your failures, shaping your confidence, and deciding how far you go. That voice is with you when nobody else is. It speaks before you act and long after the world goes quiet. And here's the hard truth, your life will never rise higher than the language you use with yourself. If you talk to yourself like someone who is unsure, undeserving, or afraid, your actions will follow that script. But when you speak to yourself like a leader, everything begins to shift. Most people are far harsher on themselves than they would ever be to anyone else. They replay mistakes like courtroom evidence. They magnify weaknesses and minimize strengths. One failure becomes a label, one delay becomes an identity. And over time, that internal dialogue becomes law. Not because it's true, but because it's repeated. Leaders understand something different. The mind is trained, not obeyed. You don't accept every thought just because it shows up. You challenge it. You correct it. You replace it with language that builds direction instead of doubt. Speaking to yourself like a leader doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means telling yourself the truth with responsibility attached. Leaders don't say, "It's not my fault." They say, "What's my role in this and what's my next move?" They don't say, "I'm just not good at this." They say, "I'm not good at this yet, and here's what I'm going to do about it." That shift from judgment to strategy changes everything. One keeps you stuck, the other moves you forward. Your inner voice sets the tone for your standards. If your self-talk is soft, your standards will be negotiable. You'll justify inconsistency, you'll excuse procrastination, you'll call fear logic and avoidance self-care. But when you speak to yourself like someone who expects excellence, your behavior rises to meet that expectation. Leaders don't motivate themselves with comfort. They motivate themselves with purpose. They remind themselves what's at stake. They speak in commitments, not excuses. They hold the line even when it's uncomfortable. Pay attention to what you say to yourself when things go wrong. That's where leadership is revealed. When plans fail, do you spiral or stabilize? When you fall short, do you insult yourself or instruct yourself? The voice of a leader doesn't panic. It prioritizes. It doesn't collapse. It recalibrates. It says, "This didn't work. Learn, adjust, move." That calm authority doesn't come from personality. It comes from practiced self-respect, from refusing to tear yourself down when you need yourself the most. Speaking like a leader also means knowing when to be firm with yourself. Compassion without accountability creates comfort, not growth. Leaders understand timing. They know when to encourage and when to demand more. They don't allow temporary feelings to override long-term vision. When you don't feel like showing up, the leader voice says, "Do it anyway." When doubt creeps in, it says, you've handled worse. When fear whispers, it says, we move forward regardless. That voice becomes your anchor under pressure. Your self-talk shapes your identity, and identity drives behavior. If you consistently tell yourself you're disciplined, you'll act disciplined. If you tell yourself you're resilient, you'll recover faster. If you tell yourself you're capable of learning, you won't quit when it's hard. This isn't wishful thinking, it's alignment. Leaders speak in identities they are willing to live up to. They don't wait to feel strong to say they are strong. They speak strength until their actions catch up. There will be moments when no one believes in you, moments when feedback is harsh or non-existent, moments when progress is slow and the silence is loud. In those moments, your inner voice becomes your lifeline. If it's weak, you'll fold. If it's chaotic, you'll freeze. But if it's steady, clear, grounded, and directive, you'll endure. Leaders are self-led first. They don't outsource belief, they generate it internally and let the world catch up later. Choosing yourself means upgrading the way you speak to yourself on ordinary days, not just crisis moments. It's in the morning when you don't feel like starting. It's at night when you review your day. Do you speak with clarity or criticism, with direction or disappointment? The language you choose daily compounds. Over time, it becomes confidence, composure, and conviction. You don't rise suddenly, you rise gradually through consistent internal leadership. And understand this, the way you speak to yourself teaches others how to treat you. When you respect yourself internally, you enforce boundaries externally. When you value your time, others feel it. When you trust your voice, you don't over-explain. Leadership starts inside and shows up everywhere else. You move with intention. You speak with certainty. You decide without apology. As 2026 approaches, this matters more than ever, because the challenges will demand clarity, the pressure will demand stability, and the future will demand a version of you that doesn't crumble under self-doubt. That version is built now. In the quiet conversations you have with yourself, change the voice, and you change the direction. So listen to how you speak to yourself. Correct what weakens you. Reinforce what strengthens you. Speak with authority, speak with vision, speak with responsibility. Because when you learn to lead yourself with your words, you no longer wait for confidence. You command it. Most people think change happens in one powerful moment. A surge of emotion, a sudden breakthrough, a decision so intense it rewrites everything overnight. But that's a fantasy. Real transformation is quieter, slower, and far more demanding. The moment you decide is only the beginning. What determines your future is what you do after that decision, day after day, especially when the emotion fades. One choice sets the direction, but daily action builds the destination. Making a decision once feels bold. Acting on it repeatedly feels uncomfortable. That's why so many people announce change but never embody it. They confuse intention with execution. They think clarity equals progress. It doesn't. Progress is movement. And movement requires discipline, consistency, and patience. Every day you either reinforce your decision or undermine it. There is no neutral. You are always casting a vote for the life you want, or for the life you will complain about later. Daily action is where identity is forged. You don't become disciplined because you decided to be disciplined. You become disciplined because you practiced discipline until it became familiar. You don't become confident because you declared it. You become confident because you showed up consistently and survived a discomfort. Repetition is the teacher, and consistency is the language the brain understands. What you do repeatedly, you become. That's not motivation, it's mechanics. Consistency doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty, honest effort, honest evaluation, honest correction. Most people quit because they believe missed days cancel progress. They don't. Quitting does. Leaders don't obsess over streaks. They focus on standards. When they fall off, they get back on without drama. No self-punishment, no self-pity, just recommitment. That's maturity, that's power. The ability to restart without making failure personal. Daily action also exposes resistance. The more consistent you try to be, the louder the excuses become. Fatigue, doubt, distraction, old habits pulling you backward. That resistance isn't a sign to stop, it's proof you're doing something that matters. Growth always provokes discomfort. The question is whether you interpret discomfort as danger or as development. Leaders understand that resistance is part of the process. They don't argue with it, they move through it. One decision without follow-through is entertainment. Repeated action without drama is transformation. You don't need to be extreme, you need to be relentless. Small actions done daily compound into undeniable change. A single workout won't change your body. A single focused hour won't change your career. But repeated effort